I look at the pale sky outside the window of the carriage we call an ambulance and rub my eyes sleepily. The night shift is ending. It's early morning in Iowa, the sky is light, the air is crisp and cool. My partner, Eric, is focused on the road, driving back to the station. It's been a tough night, 2 calls, one for a heart attack, the other for a highway accident. Both patients made it to the hospital alive. The job is done, and I can breathe a sigh of relief. You did well today, Nate. Eric glances at me. He's about 10 years younger than me, an energetic guy. I smile at the corner of my lips. Yes, it was a tough night, but we did well, I answer. My voice is hoarse from lack of sleep. The ambulance station, our second home, greets us with silence. We drive the car into the bay and get out. I stretch tiredly, straightening my shoulders, stiff from sitting. Before going home, I need to hand over my shift and fill out paperwork. Inside the building, we are met by the duty dispatcher with a cup of coffee in his hand. "Good morning, guys. How was your night?" he asks quietly. "I've had worse," I mutter, taking the completed call forms from Eric. 2 cases, both stable. The dispatcher nods understandingly. He, too, will soon have to go on vacation. Half an hour later, I finally got out of the station. I got into my old Toyota, which started up in a jiffy, even though it was already 15 years old. The drive home took about 20 minutes. Our town was small, typical Iowa. Quiet streets, one-story houses, tall maples along the sidewalks. I pass familiar streets. The coffee shop on the corner where retirees gather in the morning is closed at this early hour. The farm supply store, the fire station with its red gates, the whole town is just waking up. I love these Iowa mornings when the sky is so wide and the air smells of freshly mown grass and the day ahead. I drive, catching myself falling asleep right at the wheel, and I open the window, a cool wind whips my face, sobering me up. The house greets me with silence. At 7 in the morning, everyone is either already awake or still asleep, depending on their schedule. I walk into the hallway, trying not to make any noise. I take off my shoes and hang my jacket on a hook. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee wafts from the kitchen, meaning Madison is already up. I walk in. My wife is standing by the stove in a formal dark blue suit, stroking it with her palms. A coffee pot is heating up on the stove. She glances at me over her shoulder. "Hello? How's your shift?" "Hello," I answer quietly, leaning against the doorframe. "Not bad. Tired, of course." Maddie, that's what I always called her at home, turns to face me. She used to smile and playfully kiss me with her toothpaste-scented lips in the morning. Now she just has a polite expression on her face, like a real estate agent at work. "Would you like some coffee? There's fresh coffee on the stove," she asks calmly, almost detachedly. "Yeah, I think I'll have a sip." I run my hand over my face, feeling the stubble. I walk over, grab a mug from the counter, and pour myself some hot coffee. "Are the kids up yet?" "Lily's not here yet, and Max is eating cereal," the wife replies, adjusting her jacket. "I told him to hurry up. The school bus is coming soon." I nod, take a sip. The bitter coffee burns my tongue, but brings me back to life. The house is quiet, only the TV hums softly from the living room, the morning news. Madison bustles about getting ready for work. She has to be in the office by 8. She's a real estate agent, selling houses in our area. She's been especially busy the last couple of months, either meeting with clients or showing houses on the weekends. She often comes home late, saying she's closing a lot of deals. I'm happy for her, of course. Money is always a good thing, especially with 2 teenage children. Lily has her own needs: makeup, clothes. Max has video games, gym clothes. But today, looking at Madison hurrying, I feel some kind of detachment, as if we were neighbors, politely exchanging routine phrases. It was different before. "Do you have work tonight, too?" I asked to break the silence. "Or will you be home today?" "I have a meeting with clients in the evening," she says, checking the documents in the folder. "We're showing you the new cottage. Don't expect me early." I nod understandingly, trying to hide my disappointment. We hardly see each other anyway, my night shifts, her busy schedule. When should we even talk? Maybe for a couple of minutes in the morning. Max appears, a 13-year-old boy with tousled blonde hair and a Star Wars pajama t-shirt. Or rather, not a boy anymore, but a teenager, but sometimes it seems to me that he is still little. He carries a backpack on one shoulder. "Hi, Dad," he says sleepily, but happily, seeing me. "Have you just come from work?" "Uh-huh." I smile and ruffle his already shaggy bangs. "Have you had breakfast yet?" "Yeah, cereal with milk," he replies and yawns. "Go brush your teeth," Madison interjects in a stern tone. "It's almost time to leave." Max rolls his eyes, but obediently trudges to the bathroom. I watch him and find myself missing him. Last night, when I left for work, he was doing his homework and waved to me from the couch. We didn't really talk. "What about Lily?" I ask my wife quietly. "She has a bus in an hour." "I'll take her," Madison says, checking the contents of her bag. "She has a later first period, so we'll make it." Lily is 2 years older than Max. She is 15. Now summer is over, school has started. She is in the 10th grade. She often frowns in the mornings, does not want to get up. Probably she was chatting with someone in the chat or watching videos on her phone for half the night. A typical teenager. A couple of minutes later, she appears, her hair disheveled, her gaze dissatisfied, in sweatpants and a sweatshirt, although I know she will change into her fashionable clothes before going out. In my presence, she can wear whatever she wants. At home, she doesn't care. "Oh, Dad, hi," Lily says sleepily, noticing me with a mug of coffee. "You're early." "Hi, Lil," I respond softly. "How did you sleep?" She shrugs and immediately gives her mother a reproachful look. "Mom, we had an agreement that another 5 minutes. You're already up, and that's good," Madison snaps without turning around. "Don't start in the morning." Lily snorts softly and slumps in her chair, pouring herself some orange juice from a carton. I watch them both. There seems to be a chill between mother and daughter lately. Lily argues a lot. Madison gets irritated. I try not to interfere, but sometimes I hear their bickering, and I don't recognize my wife. She is so strict and harsh with her daughter. "Dad, will you be home today?" Lily suddenly asks, looking up from her phone, which she had already managed to take out of her pocket. "Well, in the evening, for example." I glance at my wife. Will I have time to wake up by evening? After a night's sleep, I usually sleep until lunch. Then there are plenty of things to do around the house. But for the sake of the children, I try to find time. "Yes, of course I will," I nod. "Today is my day off after my shift." "Maybe we should watch a movie," the daughter suggests hesitantly. I am happily surprised by her initiative lately. She rarely invites me to spend time together. "Let's do it," I agree. "Choose something, I'll adjust. Just not a horror movie, please." Max returns from the bathroom after hearing about the film. "About the movie? Cool. Can I have the new one with superheroes?" There was just a... "We'll see," I interrupt softly, so that he doesn't get carried away too early. "We'll decide together in the evening." Madison, meanwhile, is already heading into the hallway, her heels clicking. I see her grab her car keys from the table. It's time for the kids to get ready. "We have to go," she announces dryly. "Lily, I'll be waiting for you in the car in 5 minutes." "Okay, okay," the daughter mutters, finishing her juice. Max rushes to hug me goodbye. I hug my son to me, feeling the warmth of his still childish, thin body. "Bye, Dad," he mumbles, burying his nose under my arm. "Get some sleep there." "Uh-huh, go ahead, champ," I reply. "Behave well at school." Lily comes over too, though more reservedly. I pat her on the shoulder, and she smiles faintly at the corner of her mouth. "See you tonight," I tell her. "Yeah," she nods, hiding the phone in her backpack. The kids slip out the door, talking about something of their own. Madison lingers at the threshold, looking at me. There is weariness in her eyes, but also something else that I do not have time to understand. Rest, she finally says. And keep an eye on the house. The porch is creaking. Fix it, okay? Of course, I agree with a sigh. She always finds something for me to do, as if I don't have a job, but a continuous day off. Madison nods and leaves, closing the door behind her. I remain in the empty kitchen. The coffee is finished. The house is unusually quiet. I need to sleep while I can. I walk into the bedroom, throw off my paramedic uniform, and fall onto the bed, almost exhausted. The bed is made evenly on one side. The pillow is untouched. Madison must have slept in the living room again or simply gone to bed late. An unpleasant anxiety stirs in my chest, but I push it away. Fatigue is taking its toll. In those last seconds before sleep, I felt a vague sense of unease, as if a storm were brewing. But exhausted, I pushed the thought away. What bad could happen in our ordinary life? I couldn't imagine how soon everything would change. I close my eyes and fall asleep, still remembering the smell of coffee and feeling the short morning moment with my family so ordinary and so fragile. I wake up around midday to the sound of the front door. I rub my eyes. It's already bright daylight outside. I can barely remember what day it is. Oh, Thursday. The kids are at school. Madison is at work. She must have stopped by home for lunch or to pick up some paperwork. I pull on jeans and a t-shirt and head downstairs. The kitchen is empty, but her laptop is on the table. It's weird. Madison doesn't usually leave her work computer just like that. I glance into the living room. It's empty. I hear a rustling sound upstairs and go there. My wife is standing in our bedroom, near the dresser, and hastily stuffing something into her bag. A couple of skirts, blouses. She shudders when she sees me in the doorway. "What, are you already up?" she says nervously. I look at the things laid out on the bed. My heart sinks unpleasantly. It looks like packing for a trip. "Yeah, I got enough sleep." I try to speak calmly. "What happened? Are you going somewhere?" Madison turns away, zipping her bag. "The client is out of town. I need to show the house urgently," she says. "I'll be back late." Her voice is tense. She doesn't even try to smile. The room feels cold, even though the window is closed. I come closer, notice our bank papers on the nightstand. It looks like she was looking for something. Out of the corner of my eye, I notice an envelope with the bank logo, a half-extracted account statement sticking out of it. "What kind of house is this time?" I ask, trying to look into her eyes. "Are you taking things overnight?" "Sometimes the shows drag on," she snaps. My heart starts beating faster. Something is definitely wrong. I decide to test my guess. I walk around the bed and pick up the same bank envelope while she zips up her bag. "What are you doing?" Her voice is filled with anxiety and anger. She takes a step toward me, but I've already pulled out the paper. It's the latest statement for our credit card. One line catches my eye: the name of a hotel in Des Moines and the amount. I know this hotel well. Expensive, fashionable for business guests. The checkout date is last weekend. That weekend, Madison said she went to a real estate seminar in Des Moines. "What is this?" I ask quietly, showing her the extract. She stops, her lips pressed tightly together. "Don't make a scene, please," he says coldly. My mouth is dry. "Maddie." I swallow the lump in my throat. "This hotel. You weren't there for the seminar, were you?" She is silent. In her eyes, there is a mixture of irritation and guilt. "Tell me the truth," I beg hoarsely. "Are you seeing someone?" Madison turns to the window. I can see her shoulders tense. "Yes," he finally says quietly, "I'm dating." The confession stuns me. Even though I suspected it, to hear it, I feel everything inside me breaking down, but outwardly I try to remain calm. For a moment, our best moments flashed before me. The first time I saw her in a flower shop and hesitated to speak, the way she laughed when I proposed to her, kneeling in a crowded restaurant, the way we held newborn Lily in our arms, so young and happy. All of this flashed before the harsh reality. "Who is he?" I ask after a pause. My wife turns to me. Her face is pale, but her eyes sparkle with stubbornness. "His name is Evan Whitaker. she says curtly. We met a couple months ago at a conference. He's from Texas. From Texas, I echo, trying to comprehend. Is that why you were late so often, flying to see him? A few times, Madison admits, and he came. I clench my teeth so hard that my cheekbones ache. So, while I was evacuating the wounded and saving lives at night, she. So what now? The voice sounds strange, hoarse. Are you going to see him? She looks down, then straight ahead again, defiantly. Yes, I'm flying to Austin today. Evan is waiting for me. I think I see black for a moment. Austin. So she has already decided. And the children, I exhale. Lily, Max, do they know? Not yet, Madison answers dully, shaking her head slightly. I'll tell them when the time comes. The meaning of her words dawns on me. She's not just abandoning me, she's leaving behind the children, or is she planning to take them too later? When will the time come? What do you have in mind? I take a step forward. My heart is now pounding somewhere in my throat. No drama, Nate, she says wearily, raising her hand. It's all clear. You and I have grown apart. We have different goals. Evan is successful, he's starting a startup, he has big plans. The kids will have a better future with him than here in this. She glances around our bedroom as if everything here is foreign and miserable to her in this routine. Wait, I raise my palm. You want to take the kids to Texas? Just like that. Not right away, Madison narrows her eyes. I'll go alone first, set the stage, then I'll move them. Evan's offering them a private school opportunities. I shake my head, trying to wrap my mind around it all. She speaks calmly, as if it were a business project, but my ears are ringing. Do you understand what you're saying? I whisper. Take Lily and Max away from me, 1,000 miles away, to some stranger? Not a stranger, she smiles wryly. He'll soon be part of the family. My patience is running out. I crumple the statement in my fist. Part of the family? Bitterness and anger break through in his voice. Is that what you decided? You're leaving your family, and he has nothing to do with it. Don't yell, Madison mutters, her eyes flashing. It's because I'm thinking about my family that I'm leaving. You're living in the past, Nate. Your ceiling is this ambulance and this creaking porch. I want a better future for my kids, and for myself. We stand opposite each other for a few seconds, breathing heavily. I try to pull myself together. There's no point in arguing. Think about the children, I say more calmly, but firmly. They need a family, stability. You're hurting them. They want perspective, she counters. I'll give them a chance to go to a good college, meet people on a different level. And here, a small school, no connections, no ambitions. I don't recognize my wife. More precisely, I understand. She always wanted to break out further, higher. I loved her for this aspiration. But I didn't think that she would destroy our family for this. Maddie, come to your senses, I say desperately. To just leave everything like this. The kids won't understand. She looks at me for a long moment, and suddenly her face softens, a shadow of sadness appears. They'll understand, she says quietly. I'll try to explain it to them. Lily's almost an adult. Max is smart beyond his years. They see that you and I are like neighbors, that you're always busy night shifts, tiredness. You're a good father, Nate, but that's not enough. I feel my fingers trembling, and I forcefully unclench my fist, straightening out the crumpled sheet of paper. What is there not enough of? I ask bitterly. Money. She is silent, and in the silence is the answer. So that's the point. I smile joylessly. Our wealth is not enough for your ambitions. Not only that, Madison tightens her grip on the strap of her bag. I want to live, not just survive, and I want the same for my children. To live at someone else's expense, I throw out. Her eyes flash with anger. Lo, Nate, Evan is not a stranger. He loves me, and the kids will like him. Have you introduced them already? I am amazed. Not yet, she answers sharply, but I'll introduce you when the time comes. Like a punch in the stomach, she had already planned everything. Without me. How can you see this? I throw up my hands. You leave, then suddenly come and take our children. Do you think I'll allow it? You won't have a choice, she snaps. After the divorce, the children will stay with me. The court always sides with the mother, especially since I'll provide them with better conditions. She fired the words like a shot. I flinch. Madison turns, grabs her bag. When will you be back? I ask quietly, realizing that I won't be able to hold her back now. In a few days, she says, without looking at me. Don't worry, I'll get in touch. She heads towards the door. She freezes at the threshold. And Nate, what? My voice sounds muffled. Let's do it the easy way, okay? There's weariness in her tone. No scenes in front of the kids. I'll tell them I'm going on a business trip. And then I'll explain everything gradually. It'll be better that way. I am silent. I have no strength to argue. I am shaking from the wave of rage and pain that has washed over me, but I restrain myself. Madison opens the door. Goodbye, I say quietly to her back. She pauses for a second, as if she wants to answer something or look back, but doesn't. She leaves and carefully closes the door behind her. I stand in the middle of our house, or rather, not ours anymore, but mine with a wad of paper in my hand. Silence. Only now do I notice how loudly the clock on the wall is ticking. Then I look down at the crumpled statement. The line with the hotel name blurs before my eyes. I am overcome. I want to throw something, scream. But instead, I slowly sink onto the sofa and cover my face with my hands. I sat there for I don't know how long, an hour, too. Shadows from the window frames wandered around the house. Finally, I got up like a robot, made myself some coffee, but I didn't drink it. My throat was constricted by the emptiness. The unknown loomed ahead. Was she gone for good? What would happen to the children? Thousands of questions, not a single answer. I was too stunned to even cry. I just stood in the middle of the living room in the approaching twilight, feeling my old life crumble. The few days after she leaves pass in a kind of stupor. I eat automatically, work shifts, try to maintain the appearance of a normal life for the children. They ask when Mom will return from her business trip. All I can do is vaguely answer, she should be back soon. My throat gets dry from the lies every time. Lily senses that something is wrong. She notices my state. I am acting on autopilot. She tried to ask me a couple of times, but I excused myself by saying I was tired. Max, however, doesn't seem to suspect anything at 13. He is childishly sure that his mother is simply busy with things, but will return with gifts. On the 5th day, the doorbell rings in the evening. My heart speeds up. Madison is standing on the threshold. She looks collected, dressed in a business pantsuit, although it is already 8 o'clock in the evening. Behind her are black suitcases. Hello, she says, as if nothing had happened, as if she had just returned from a routine trip. Only her eyes are cold, assessing. Anger rises in me, but I restrain myself for the sake of the children. Max is already looking out into the corridor behind me. Mom, he exclaims joyfully and rushes to hug his mother. Lily also comes out of the living room, folding her arms across her chest. Hello, my dears. Madison's voice is gentle, completely different from our last meeting. She hugs her son, kisses her daughter on the cheek. Sorry it took so long. Things got delayed. I stand a little further away, watching this scene and feeling superfluous. Then, coughing, I ask hoarsely, we need to talk. All together. Madison releases the children and straightens up, her gaze still cold and businesslike. Yes, of course. Shall we meet in the living room? She replies. A few minutes later, all 4 of us sit down. I sit in the old chair, the kids sit on the couch, Madison sits next to them, but leans forward a little, looking businesslike, leaning forward. I see Lily watching her mother's every move with caution. Max presses himself against his sister. Madison clears her throat. Let's discuss the news calmly. You've noticed that there have been changes in our family lately. I grip the armrests of the chair. Calm down. Everything inside me is boiling. What other changes? Lily asks quietly. Madison pats her knee, but her daughter pulls away. The wife doesn't show it and continues in an even, slightly detached tone. This happens when people grow up, their paths diverge. My dad and I decided that we needed to restructure our approach to family. Lily raises her eyebrows. Rebuild the approach? What are you even talking about? Madison puts on a calm teacher face. The point is that each of us has new opportunities. The roles in our family need to be rebuilt. I can't stand it. What nonsense are you talking about? I snap. The kids look at me, stunned. I rarely raise my voice. Madison gives me a sharp look. Nate, please, don't be rude. I'm trying to explain our new situation to the kids. Explain it normally, in human language, I say through clenched teeth, trying not to break down again. Without these terms. The wife nods reservedly, then turns to the children. Okay, I'll tell you straight. Your dad and I won't live together anymore. The room goes silent. Lily freezes, her mouth open. Max blinks as if he doesn't understand. Are you getting a divorce? Lily finally asks quietly. Yes, Madison confirms, taking her daughter's hand, but she pulls it away. But that's not all. I got a great job offer in Texas, and there will be much more opportunity for both of you there. We'll move there. To Texas. Max's eyes widen. What do you mean, move? Where? When? He looks from his mother to me, but I remain silent because there is a lump in my throat. Soon, Madison answers softly, to Austin. There are great schools there, a warm climate. You will have a new, successful life. Imagine, a large academy with the best teachers, new friends from promising families. And Dad, Max interrupts quietly, rubbing his eyes with his fist. Is he with us too? Madison glances in my direction. Dad will stay here. His work and life are connected with Iowa. But you can come for the holidays and communicate online as much as you like. I am pierced by these words. Will stay here, said in such a tone as if I am not taken into account at all. Lily gets up from the couch, her voice trembling. So you're picking us up and taking us 1,000 miles away from home? From friends? From Dad? For some job? Lily, my dear, Madison begins peacefully, I'm doing this for your own good. Believe me, in a few years you'll thank me. Iowa doesn't have the same opportunities as there. Lily looks at her mother defiantly. Is this because of your new boyfriend? She throws the word out with disdain. Are we going to Texas because you have someone there? I hold my breath. A direct hit. Madison loses her composure for a second. What made you think that? This decision is work-related. Yes, I have a close person in Austin. His name is Evan. But the main thing is that he helps us open the doors to a better life. Lily grimaces, clearly not taking in a word. Max turns his gaze to me. Dad. I rise, finally finding my voice. Children, I begin hoarsely, know that I'm not letting you go anywhere unless you want to. Madison perks up. Nate, we've already decided. Don't confuse them. She also stands up, looking down at me, since I am one step lower. No, I won't shut up, I tell her firmly and look at Lily and Max. Of course, a lot has already been done behind my back, but the choice is yours. If you don't want to go, say so. Lily immediately exhales. I don't want. Madison winces in annoyance. Lily, don't talk nonsense. You're just scared of change. Remember how you dreamed of breaking out of our province, going somewhere far away. There's such a chance there. The daughter hesitates, a struggle on her face. She really did dream of studying in a big city later. Max sniffles. I don't know. I don't want to change schools, and I don't want to leave my dad. My chest warms at his words, but Madison is quick to intervene. No one is leaving. Dad will remain your father. He will just live separately. Honey, we have watched so many movies about cool schools, about Texas Rangers. There are sports and everything. She is clearly trying to find an approach to her son. Max hesitates, looking first at his mother, then at his sister. Lily clenches her fists. You've got it all figured out, right? You think Dad doesn't need us? He needs you, of course. Madison shrugs. But your father has his own life, his own work. He wasn't going to move, even for us. And I'm ready. Sometimes, in order to move forward, you need to reorganize the roles in the family. There's that word again, reassemble the roles. She thinks that family is just a project that can be taken apart and put back together. It's sickening to listen to, Lily says, wiping away her tears with the back of her hand. Mom, if you want to go, go. But I'm staying. No, you're not staying, Madison interrupts her abruptly for the first time. You're underage, and I'm making the decision. Trust me, you'll judge later. Lily casts a pleading look at me. Dad, come on, say something. I walk up and hug my daughter by the shoulders. I don't want you to leave, I say honestly, looking Madison straight in the eye. But I don't want to make a scene and drag you through the courts either. If you want to stay, I'm all for it. But if you decide to leave, I'll understand too. Everything inside me protests at these words, but I try to be strong for them. Children must make their own decisions, otherwise they will blame them for the rest of their lives. Madison has already picked up her suitcases and is now standing at the door. Enough of the scenes, she says dryly. Lily, Max, get ready. We have a flight in the morning, and we still need to pack our things. Today, Max exhales. So suddenly. What did you think? The mother snaps. Decisions must be implemented without delay. The sooner you start a new life, the easier it will be. Lily is sobbing openly. I can feel her shaking in my arms, and tears are welling up in my eyes. Max is crying too. I don't want to, Lily whispers. But if you're forcing me. It's not forever, silly, Madison says, changing her tone to a gentle one. We'll just try it. If we don't like it, we'll talk about it. I understand. She will never allow not to like. But now I am powerless. It is against my nature to let the children go. I am forced to give in. Packing was a nightmare. Madison quickly gave orders about what to take. I helped mechanically, as if I was acting against my will. Lily barely spoke, only wiping away tears. Max stayed close to me the whole time, clinging to my sleeve. No one slept that night. In the morning at dawn, I drove them all to the airport in Des Moines. The whole way, the children held my hands from the back seat and did not want to let go. Madison sat in front, silent, her face buried in her phone. At the gate, the moment of farewell came. Max hugged me tightly and burst into tears. I whispered to him, "You are my boyfriend. Everything will be fine. I am always here. Call me anytime." Lily stood next to me, biting her lips. When Max let go, she rushed to me. "Dad, I'm sorry," she whispered, crying. "It's not your fault, my dear," I replied, stroking her head. "I love you, and the door of my house is always open for you." Behind me, I heard Madison cough impatiently. I looked up at my wife. She was looking at her watch. "It's time for us to go," she said dryly. "Take care of them," was all I could say. She didn't answer. She just took the children by the hands and resolutely headed towards the boarding counter. Lily and Max turned around as they walked, waving at me. I smiled as hard as I could, trying to remember their faces at that moment. And then they left. I stood at the control until their plane took off. I could barely feel my feet under me. I barely remember the way back home. I walked back alone along the empty highway, and for the first time I felt truly old and lonely. It's been a couple of weeks since the kids left. We call each other every other day or two via video link. Each such meeting is both joy and torture. Joy is seeing their faces, hearing their voices. Torture is realizing that they are now in another life where I am not around. Today, as agreed, I connect at exactly 7 in the evening. The screen comes to life. First Max appears, then Lily appears in the frame. They are sitting, it seems, on a sofa in a spacious, bright room, probably in Evan's office. Behind them on the wall is a board with colored stickers, some diagrams. Both are dressed to the nines. Lily in a white blouse with the Academy emblem and a tight black skirt, Max in a polo shirt and trousers. They look like children from an expensive catalog, only their overly adult faces give away something amiss. Dad, Max smiles, pressing his face closer to the camera. Hi. Hello, champion, I answer, trying to smile naturally. How are you? It's fine, the son responds and immediately starts sharing. You know, we have a swimming pool in the complex. I've already swum twice. And a gym, and even a shared cinema, can you imagine? Cool, I nod. You like swimming? Yes, that's really cool, he beams sincerely. And Evan took us to a football match last week. He has a season ticket. It was my first time at such a huge stadium. There is delight in my son's eyes. My heart sinks. I have never taken him to games. In Iowa, there was no opportunity, and there was no extra money. I'm glad you like it, Max, I say honestly. And how is school? School, academy, he corrects. It's called Lakeview Academy. Everything here is elite, I guess. There are only 10 people in our class, and each one has a mentor. New computers, sports grounds. The teachers are strict, but cool. Lily snorts from the other side of the couch. She still hasn't said a word, just looks at me intently. Lil, how are you? I ask cautiously. Are you getting used to it? The daughter shrugs. It's fine. I'm finishing this quarter at their school, then maybe I'll transfer to the academy. They're still deciding. Why do they decide? I don't understand. Lily smiles wryly. The program is different here. Maybe I'll have to skip a year, or, on the contrary, catch up. They give tests first. Everything is complicated. She'll pass, Max chimes in confidently. Evan said he'd hire her any tutor she wants so she can pass the level. Lily rolls her eyes. Yeah, thanks, of course. I can tell from her tone that my daughter is not thrilled with this care. But I keep quiet. Is Mom at work? I ask, noticing that there are no adults in sight. Yeah, she's showing a house today, Max replies. And Evan's downstairs talking to someone. He's got a business meeting. The fact that the children were left home alone worries me a little, but they are not little anymore, and it is probably a guarded residence. How do you like Evan? I decide to ask, trying to keep my voice even. Max nods immediately. He's fine, cheerful, and not at all mean. Sometimes strict, but rarely. He knows so much. He showed me how he started his business and made prototypes in the garage. I blink. Prototypes? Garage? Max spoke of me with much less enthusiasm. And you, Lily? I turn my gaze to my daughter. Lily shrugs. Tolerable. Doesn't really interfere. True, he spends more time with Max, and as for me, he's just. She doesn't finish the sentence, but I understand. Lily is probably keeping to herself. I'm glad to hear it. Max, meanwhile, having settled himself more comfortably, is already chattering. Dad, you should see our house. It's 3 floors. Lily and I have rooms next to each other, but she spends most of her time in her own room. And we made a kind of game room in the basement. Pool, console, movie screen. Evan says we can bring friends when they come. You'll make friends, of course, I agree, although inside I feel bitter from his joy. Just look after each other there, okay? Yeah, the son nods. Don't worry. We're fine, Dad, Lily adds quietly. It's not dangerous here. There's a pause. I don't know what else to ask, and they don't seem to know either. It feels awkward, like we're hosting guests. Suddenly, someone appears next to the children, a tall, fair-haired man in his 40s. He sits down between them on the sofa, smiling. Every muscle in my body tenses. Of course, it's Evan. Greetings, he says cordially. You must be Nate. I instinctively bow my head, feeling extremely uncomfortable, seeing him next to my children. Yes, Nate, I answer dryly. And you, I understand, are Evan. That's right, he smiles even wider. Lily, Max, why don't you show your father how great it is here? Let's turn the camera, let him see. He carefully picks up the tablet or whatever they have in their hands, and the image starts to wander. I see a spacious living room, a leather sofa, a glass table, chrome lamps. Everything is expensive, stylish. There, Evan comments, pleased. We like it here. We made some nice rooms for the boys. Want to see it, Nate? No thanks, I quickly decline. My heart is pounding. His polite tone makes me feel sick. As you wish, smiles Evan, turning the camera back to himself and the children. Your children are wonderful, I can tell you that right away. Smart, well-mannered, you can be proud of them. I am proud, I answer, trying to keep a straight face. I'm glad to hear that they're doing well. Oh, everything's great, he picks up easily. We're like a team here. I try to give Lily and Max everything they need to succeed. Connections, a social circle. After all, the most important thing is the environment, right? I clench my fists outside the camera. What connections? What is he talking about? I don't know, I squeeze out. I think the main thing is that the children are happy. Evan nods. Absolutely, and I do everything to make them happy. For example, we are now issuing them new IDs with a local address to make it easier. I even suggested adding my last name, just for convenience, so that there are no questions at school. And when they come of age, maybe we will officially adopt them if they want. He says it as if he were talking about the weather, with a smile. My ears are ringing. Excuse me, what? I asked again, making sure I had not misheard. Lily turns sharply to Evan. Why are you doing this now? Max also looks confused. Evan waves his hand. Just an idea. I don't mind, if anything. We have a family now, after all. Don't we? He looks straight into the camera at me. I remain silent for a few seconds, so as not to lose my temper. Then I answer as evenly as possible. Family is not documents or surnames. I think we can end the conversation here. Whatever you say, Evan says, still friendly. Nice to meet you, Nate. Everything will be fine. He gets up and walks out of frame. I can hear Lily's exasperated voice saying, Did you have to? And Evan's quiet reply, Sorry. He must have realized he'd gone too far. Dad, Max says, looking at the screen in confusion. You're not angry, okay? I force a smile. It's all right, son. It's just bureaucracy. Don't worry about it. Lily looks at me from under her long bangs. We're not going to change our last name, Dad. Don't worry. There's tension in her voice. I nod, feeling both proud of her and terribly tired. I know, baby, I say quietly. Okay, it's late. You have to get up early tomorrow. They exchange glances, understanding the hint. Shall we call on the weekend? Max asks guiltily. Of course, I answer. I'll wait. We say goodbye, and the screen goes dark. I sit in silence for a moment, trying to process what just happened. My chest is swelling with anger and helplessness. This Evan, he confidently inserts himself into my children's lives and feels like he's the boss. Having calmed down a bit, I open the browser and start looking for information. Adoption without parental consent, changing a child's surname after a divorce. My eyes run over the lines, and I become increasingly anxious. Yes, they can't change the children's surnames without my consent only through the court with a very good reason. And it's impossible to adopt until my rights are taken away. But if they wait until the children come of age, they can become anyone. I won't be able to stop them. I'm shaking with rage. I have to do something. Evan says, we're a family so easily. No way he'll get a fight. The next day, I pick up the phone and dial the number of an old lawyer friend I once met at work. It's time to learn how to protect my rights and my children. The lawyer I see is a short, balding man named Grant Miller. We are sitting in his small office on the second floor of an old building downtown. The street outside is noisy, but inside it is quiet. The situation, frankly, is not simple. Miller sums up after listening to my story. He taps his pencil on the folder in front of him. But it's not unique. It happens. One of the parents leaves with the children to another state. Without my consent, I add gloomily. Formally, he nods. Are you and your wife not legally divorced yet? No, no papers were filed, I answer. She left suddenly. I think divorce is the next step. I understand. The lawyer takes off his glasses and rubs his eyes. Well, let's go point by point. First, about the children. They currently live with their mother. Apparently, she plans to settle in Texas. If the case goes to court, she will ask to determine the children's place of residence with her. Considering that the children are already there, the court will most likely agree. My heart felt heavier, although I knew it myself. I don't have a chance, I ask hoarsely. I didn't say no chance, Miller corrects. But frankly, if the children are relatively well off, they're going to school, provided for the court is unlikely to drag them back to Iowa, especially if they themselves express a desire to stay with their mother. I nod, gritting my teeth. Nothing unexpected. However, the lawyer continues, raising his finger, you still have legal rights. Firstly, the right to communicate with the children, to visit them. You can demand a schedule of meetings, vacations, holidays. Secondly, the right to participate in decisions regarding education, treatment, and so on as long as you are the official father. They will not change their last name without your consent. She's already trying, I mutter. Miller looks at me questioningly, and I briefly recount our recent video call about the last name and Evan's words about adoption. You're insolent, the lawyer shakes his head. To try like that, okay? Without your voluntary renunciation of parental rights, they can't be adopted. Even if she files for divorce and sole custody, what's that? Sole custody, you won't be deprived of your rights without serious grounds, like abuse or prison. And I see you'll never be held accountable for anything like that. Of course, I snort. So here you can rest easy. Any talk about adoption is just empty air while the children are minors, he concludes. It's a different matter when they turn 18, but then there's little that depends on you. I read it, I sigh. Well, the second point, Miller leafs through his notes, finances. Are you still providing for them financially? In a sense, I say bitterly. Our joint account, from which money goes to the needs of the children. I put my salary there. Now she spends it on their new life, apparently. Here's my advice, the lawyer looks up. Stop any voluntary payments until the legal issues are settled. If she wants to receive alimony from you, let her apply for it officially. Then the amount will be reasonable, according to Iowa law, and not according to her requests. I hesitate, digesting the thought that I could just stop giving money. But it's for the children. I understand your concern, Miller says, noticing my hesitation. But think about it. You are now essentially funding the children's stay in a place where you are being removed from their upbringing. You are not obligated to support their private school or their lavish lifestyle. Your duty is to provide for their basic needs. They are clearly providing for them there. If they are truly lacking something, they will tell you, and then we can consider it. What about the children? I ask quietly. Won't they think I abandoned them? On the contrary, the lawyer leans back in his chair. You can explain your position to them directly, that you are not abandoning them, but you do not intend to sponsor your own removal. But you are always happy to help them personally when they need something real. I nod. A plan is already beginning to form in my head. After leaving Miller's office, I get into my car and sit there for a while, coming to my senses. The decision he pushed me to make wasn't easy, but there was logic to it. At home on the computer, I open the messenger. My fingers are shaking when I start typing a general message for 3 people, Lily, Max, and Madison. But then I delete the addressee Madison. I only want to talk to the kids. Honestly. Hello, Lily and Max. I thought for a long time before writing this. You know how much I love you. You are the most important people in my life. That is why it hurts me so much to see our family falling apart. I do not want to lose you, and I will never give up on you. But I have to be honest with you. It's very hard for me to accept how it all happened. You left suddenly, and I was left alone in our house. I understand that your mother convinces you that it's better this way, that you have more opportunities there. Maybe that's partly true. I could never give you luxury or great connections. I always tried to provide you with everything you needed as best I could. I admit I'm not a rich man. But wealth is not measured by money or expensive schools. It is measured by love, support, and honesty. I want to be honest with you, so I will say it straight. I cannot and will not pay for what was decided without me and against me. This concerns your new school, your new expenses. I know that these words may upset you, but please try to understand me. I am still your father and always will be. I am not removing myself from your life. If you need help for your studies, for clubs, for your health, for something really necessary, I will always help as much as I can. But I will not voluntarily finance something that distances you from me. I'm so sorry it all turned out this way. I always believed that we were a family, and a family should stick together. But since we're apart now, let's at least be honest. You have a right to know how I feel. I don't blame you for anything. It's not your fault, and you are not responsible for the decisions of adults. Mom made a decision that I don't agree with, but I live with it as best I can, and you try to live on too. I love you. I'm proud of you, and I miss you so much. Write to me at any time about school, about business, just like that. I am always in touch, and I am always on your side. Hugs. Dad. I reread what I wrote, feeling a lump in my throat. Perhaps it came out too emotional, but I can't do otherwise. I click send and watch my message fly off into digital space. Now all that's left is to wait for a response, if there is one at all. A day passed, then another. Not a word from anyone. I tried not to torture myself with anticipation, but every time the phone vibrated, my heart sank. However, there was still no answer. Perhaps they needed time. Perhaps they were offended. I didn't know, but I was prepared for any outcome. The house without children became completely different. The first days after their departure, I caught myself listening to the silence. The floor on the second floor would creak now it was Lily going to get her charger. Or the refrigerator door would slam Max was looking for a late-night snack. But the house was silent. Only the refrigerator hummed and the clock ticked. At first, I almost went crazy from this silence. The TV was on in the background all day long so that there would be at least some sound. I even set up a special wind noise on my phone, turned it on at night, so as not to listen to the emptiness of the house. In the first weeks, I caught myself walking into Lily's empty room or knocking on Max's closed door, forgetting that they were gone. I left their rooms untouched. The beds made the way they had left them, the posters hanging on the walls. I didn't have the heart to sort them out. Sometimes, when melancholy washed over me, I would go in there, sit on the edge of the bed, and just sit in silence, remembering their laughter, their voices. It was hard, but little by little the pain dulled. But time passed, and I got used to it. I began to appreciate the peace. I began to sit on the porch with a cup of tea in the early evenings, when I was not on shift. Watch the sun set over the neighbors' roofs, listen to the crickets chirp. The silence stopped frightening me. Now I can sit calmly in silence and not feel bad. Of course, I missed the children's voices, but I was learning to live again alone. I would return from work and know that an empty house was waiting for me, and I tried to fill the day with something else. One night, I had a call to an accident. A drunk driver crashed into a minivan. A father and his little son were riding in the minivan. The boy was almost unharmed, only bruises, and the father broke his arm and was very worried not about himself, but about the child. While we were putting a splint on him, he kept repeating, "Is he okay? Son, I'm here. Everything is fine." The boy was crying and reaching out to him. I barely managed to control my emotions then. I was overcome with shivers. I saw myself from the outside, the same father, ready to do anything for his children. After that call, I got out of the car and stood for a long time under the starry sky, coming to my senses. I wanted to call Lily and Max right in the middle of the night, just so they could hear my voice. But I didn't. They were far away, they needed their peace, and all I could do was silently look at the sky and hope that one day they would be near again. One day, the chief at the station asked me if I wanted to teach a CPR course to schoolchildren. Our firefighters sometimes teach first aid to high school students. Our nurse used to do that, but she left. I immediately agreed. So I got a new job twice a week. I teach evening classes at the fire station. There are teenagers in the class, about Lily's age. I show on the mannequin Annie, That's what we call the mannequin for resuscitation, resusci, and how to do CPR, how to breathe. The kids giggle, then get embarrassed, but they try. I praise them for their successes and joke, tell stories from emergency medical practice, and I see they are interested. After one of these classes, a girl of about 17, with a short haircut and determined eyes, came up to me. She said, "Thank you, Mr. Carter. Thanks to you, I decided to become a paramedic." I was completely confused and asked, "Really? It's not easy." And she said, "You talk so well, it's immediately obvious that you care." I smiled then, thanked, and suddenly it became warmer inside, either pride or just joy that I can be useful to someone. Gradually, the days settled into a routine. Night shifts, sleep, household chores, training at the fire station. I even started going to the gym a couple of times a week. I never had time before. Now I had time. I didn't talk to Madison. She sent me a couple of dry messages on the subject about forwarding mail, about some papers. I answered briefly and to the point. Boundaries. I no longer tried to find out from her how the children were doing. If Lily and Max wanted, they could tell me themselves. Sometimes they wrote a couple of lines in the general chat. "Everything is fine with us," or sent photos from school. I didn't press, although I really wanted to ask in more detail. I learned to keep these boundaries that I set myself. Don't bombard them with calls, give them space. If they are happy, let them be. It hurts me to think about it, but there is no other way. If I push, they will distance themselves even more. And so the fall passed and winter came. I coped. I survived Thanksgiving when I sat alone with a supermarket turkey and watched football. I survived Christmas when the house remained dark and I never put up the tree. It's okay, I told myself. It's all temporary. The main thing is that the children know that I exist and that I love them. At the beginning of the new year, I suddenly realized that I no longer suffer every day, that I am getting used to it. I wake up and there is no sharp pain, like no one is around. I just get up, have breakfast, plan my affairs. Life goes on, even if it is quiet, simple, but it goes on. In the spring, I managed to get in touch with my children via video call. Before that, we had limited ourselves to short messages for almost 2 months. Either they had exams or I had a rush at work. But finally, it was Sunday evening, and they were both online. I immediately notice something has changed. Lily looks older, even holds herself differently. Her back is straight. Her face has a confident expression. Her lips are pursed. Max also seems to have matured. He has a neat haircut. He looks serious. "Hi, Dad," Lily says calmly, like an adult. "How are you?" "Hi, kids," I smile warmly. "I'm fine. I missed you. How are you?" "We're doing great," Max responds in an even tone. "We're working on our goals." At first, I decide that I misheard. "Over what?" "About goals, Dad," the son repeats, exchanging glances with his sister. "Well, Mom, Evan, and I set goals for the year, break them down into tasks. This is now a tradition in our family." He says these words completely seriously. I don't even immediately find what to answer. "I see. What goals, for example?" I ask cautiously. Lily switches on the camera on the other end, and now I can see that they are sitting in a spacious, bright office. This must be Evan's house. Behind them on the wall is a whiteboard covered with colorful sticky notes, some diagrams. "Well, for example, my goal for next year is to raise my GPA to 3.8 and get into the top 10% of the class," Lily says clearly, "and also to develop leadership skills. I was elected to the student council next semester." Wow, is all I can say. Lily was never stupid, but I had never heard such a business-like tone from her. "And my goal is to win the regional robotics competition," Max adds, not without pride. "Evan helps me. He's the team's sponsor." "Robotics? I thought you liked football." I am surprised. The son shrugs. "Everyone here goes to clubs, including me. Football too, but that's just for health. And the future is in technology." He says this last phrase like a slogan, and my insides clench. Where is my reckless Max, who kicked the ball around and wanted to become an astronaut and a guitarist? There is a small adult sitting in front of me. Well, great, of course, I say slowly. The main thing is that you like it yourself. We like it, Lily says crisply. We're growing every day. I blink. Is this really my daughter speaking? We are growing above ourselves. By the way, Dad, she continues in the same businesslike tone, we wanted to discuss summer vacation. My heart sank. I had hoped that they would come to me for the holidays. I was already mentally planning my vacation. Yes, of course. I was just thinking, maybe you should go to Iowa for a month. To your old place, see everyone. Lily exchanges a glance with Max, then says carefully, we appreciate the invitation, really, but we have a more long-term plan. Evan has offered us a trip to a summer camp at Stanford University. It's a great investment in our future. A camp at the university? I ask again. Yes, for 3 weeks for gifted teenagers, explains the daughter. There will be classes on science, leadership, entrepreneurship, highly recommended by the program. Max nods. There are also excursions to Silicon Valley, meetings with real startups. We can't miss such a chance. It takes my breath away. I understand where these phrases come from. These are clearly not the words of the children themselves. This is Evan or the mother. Investing in the future, missing the chance. I understand, I say slowly. That means you won't come to see me. We'll talk about it later, Lily says evasively. There might be a window in August before school. But Dad, you know, now is the time we need to focus on growth. On the growth of what? I can't resist. Personal growth, she explains seriously. At our age, the foundation for success is laid. It is very important not to spread ourselves too thin. I hear it and I can't believe my ears. Is that really my high school daughter speaking? Guys, are you serious? I say bitterly. You are 17 and 15 years old. Maybe you should take a break, just be kids. Lily's face tenses. We don't want to be just kids, Dad. We want to do more. Max suggests. Yes, now is not the time to relax. Time is the most valuable resource. I tried desperately to reach out to them. Lily, do you remember how you loved to draw? And Max, how you waited for every premiere of Star Wars? Haven't you forgotten that you're still teenagers, that life isn't just about goals and achievements? It's a hobby, Dad, Lily replied harshly. I still have time for drawing, if need be, but I have to prioritize. If I don't become the best version of myself now, it will be too late later. Max shrugged. Yes, the time for games is over. You need to think about your career in advance. These words hurt me more than they can imagine. It's like the kids have trapped themselves in an office cage and thrown away the key. I understand, I say briefly, not hiding my disappointment. So you're not going to come to me for a vacation? Sorry, Dad, Lily says more gently, noticing my state. There's just a lot going on. We'll talk on the phone, okay? Next weekend, maybe. Of course, I smile wryly. We'll call each other. They talk about their studies for a few more minutes, but I can barely hear them. One thought is pounding in my head. They seem to have been replaced. My children speak to me like young business consultants. We say goodbye. I put the phone on the table and sit for a long time, staring at the blank screen. After the call ended, I couldn't get over it for a long time. I was torn between anger and despair. Was I losing my children for good, emotionally this time? I walked around the empty living room, trying to stop shaking. I wanted to scream from helplessness, but I clenched my fists and forced myself to breathe deeply. Maybe I don't understand them enough. Maybe they won't see the light until they themselves feel bad. I only hoped that when they need real support, they will remember me. Strange things started happening in the summer. I noticed them in small things at first. The kids suddenly started showing up online more often, as if they were staying home more than usual. Lily would text me a few sentences in the evening about nothing, although before she rarely got in touch without a reason. I didn't ask any questions, but I felt that something had changed. In mid-July, I received an official letter from the children's school. I was surprised, opened it, and found a notice about an increase in tuition for the next year and an instruction to urgently confirm the form of payment. Formally, the letter was addressed to me as the official parent. The polite text informed me that the annual fee had been increased by $10,000 and that it had to be paid by the end of the month. It also required confirmation of the intention to continue the children's education. My name was listed in black and white as the payer. I sat with this envelope, feeling my insides go cold. The fee was astronomical. I couldn't even afford a quarter. But Evan was supposed to be doing this. If they sent it to me, it was either a mistake or they had problems. Instead of answering the school, I dialed Madison's number. I hadn't called her before, but this was a special case. She didn't answer. So I took a picture of the letter and emailed it to her with a short question. What does this mean? The answer came only 2 days later, dry and laconic. We'll figure it out. Don't worry. But I was worried. That night, I didn't sleep. I kept thinking, will they suddenly ask me to pay for this academy? No way, I firmly decided. Without changes in the agreements, I will not pay anything. A few days later, Lily called. Unannounced, late in the evening. I could tell from her voice that something had happened. Dad, hi, can you talk? She asked quietly. Sure, Lil, what is it? I turned away from the TV, switching to the conversation. The daughter was silent for a moment, then blurted out. Just don't tell Mom that I'm complaining. It's just, I need to speak out. My heart sank. Lily almost never spoke to me like that. I need to speak up. Speak, I'm listening, I said softly. Things have gotten complicated here. She smiled nervously. Remember I told you about Evan's startup? Well, that's it. The investor left, there's no money. Evan is angry. He and Mom hardly talk normally. They whisper or lose their temper all the time. I remained silent, afraid to frighten my daughter's frankness. They might transfer me from the academy back to a regular school, she continued in a muffled voice. This camp at Stanford is also questionable. It's not a given that they'll pay for it. Max might have to give up the robotics section. They require a fee. Mom's quietly freaking out. Lily fell silent, then suddenly added angrily. So much for your successful life. Their whole new crowd also ran away as soon as they sensed that there were problems. No one calls, no one invites them to these showy barbecues. Mom gets even more furious. There are tears in her voice, although she tries to hide them behind sarcasm. Lil, darling, I begin, but she interrupts. That's not what I wanted. I'm not complaining, really. We'll manage, I guess. It's just a shame. I've been through so much because of this move I tried, and now it's all going down the drain. I'm so sorry, I say sincerely. If you need anything, you know I'll always help. No, don't even think about it, Lily says sharply. You don't have to pay anything. I know they sent you a letter. Mom asked them to send it. She thinks you might join in. But it's not fair. I grip the phone tighter. That's how it is. Madison didn't hesitate to involve me. Thank you for telling me, I say quietly. I wasn't going to pay for the academy, to be honest. Not unless you needed it yourself. We don't need this academy, the daughter sighs wearily. Maybe it's for the best. Let's get back to real life. Lily, I begin carefully. If you decide that you feel bad there, you can come back to me. At any moment, know that. There was silence on the line, only her breathing. I don't know, she whispers. As long as Mom's here, she won't let us go. But I remember Dad. Okay, hold on, darling, I say. If anything happens, call me right away, anytime. Okay? Okay, Dad, she answers a little more confidently. Sorry it's so late at night. Thanks for listening. Always, I whisper. Good night. Lily passed out. I sat there for a long time with the phone in my hand, digesting what I had heard. So the situation there was getting worse. Their successful new life was starting to crumble. For the first time in a long time, I felt hope. What if now the children would understand what was real and what was fake? But at the same time, I was afraid for them. It was clear there was no peaceful future in Texas, and hard times ahead, it seemed. On an August night, well past midnight, the phone rings with a trembling trill. I jump up, not immediately realizing what's happening. A call. I look at the screen. Max. Horror pierces me. I answer instantly. Max? What happened? Dad. The son's voice breaks. He is clearly crying. Dad, we are bad. Everything here. Everything is bad. Calm down, breathe. I get out of bed, already groping in the darkness with one hand in search of my jeans. What do you have there? Where are you? I'm home, Max sobs. Evan, he left. He just left. He's got debts, problems. He ran away, Dad. Mom yelled at him, and he threw his stuff in the car and drove away at night. He turned off his phone. Damn, I blurt out. And Mom. She's crying. Or I don't know, she's locked herself in the bedroom. She won't come out. Dad, we're scared. There's so much childish horror in my son's voice that it's unbearably painful for me to hear it. What should we do? I don't know. I've already pulled on my jeans, and with my free hand, I'm trying to put my foot into my boot. Max, listen to me carefully. I try to speak as calmly as possible. You have no adults at home right now, except for your mother, who is not herself, right? Yes, he sobs. We are alone. I knocked on Lily's door. She doesn't open it. She is also crying, or I don't know. So I grab the keys from the nightstand. Are you home? Physically safe? Are the locks intact? Yeah, just dark and quiet, he whispers. Okay, so the situation is this. I can come to you right now by car or take a ticket on the first plane in the morning. But I exhale, getting to the most important thing. I can only help if you and Lily want it yourselves. Do you understand me, son? There was silence on the other end, only ragged breathing. If you decide that you need to come to me, or that I should come for you, I will immediately rush and do everything that needs to be done. But you must decide this yourself and tell me. Not Mom, not circumstances you. Max blows his nose and goes quiet for a few seconds. Then I hear his uncertain voice. Dad, I really want to be with you. I'm tired of being afraid. Tears well up in my eyes, but I hold back my voice. Okay, baby. And Lily? Can you talk to her now? I'll try, he whispers. But she's proud. She won't ask herself. Explain to her that there is no shame, I say softly, that I will not let her down, that nothing matters except that you are safe and at peace. Okay, he sighs. Dad, don't hang up, please. I'm going to see her. I'm not putting it. I'm here, I quickly answer. There is noise and rustling in the dynamics for some time. I imagine my boy walking in the dark through a huge, strange house, knocking on his sister's door. I hear distant voices. Max is quietly persuading Lily. I can make out fragments. We can't do this. Mom herself. Let's go. Then something louder. Lily's voice, angry and crying at the same time. I'm not going to. Ask. He thinks. I wait, my heart pounding. Finally, Max's voice came on the line again. Dad. Yes, son. Anyway. He trails off, choosing his words. Can you come? Pick us up. Please. I close my eyes and let out a long, tense breath. Then I answer calmly. I'm already leaving. Max sobs with relief. Thank you. Gather the bare essentials. Documents, minimal clothing. We'll sort out the rest later, I instruct clearly. I'll be with you as soon as possible. I hear something creak next to my son, like a step. Dad, it's Lily's voice, quiet and broken. Forgive me. I can't stand it anymore. Tears are streaming down my cheeks. It's good that they don't see it. You have nothing to apologize for, Lily, I say firmly. I love you. Hang in there. I'll see you very soon. Okay, she answers barely audibly. The connection was lost. A minute later, I was already racing along the night highway towards the dawn and my children. The drive to Texas was long and blurry. I remember almost nothing of the journey, just the highway in the headlights and my own thoughts. My heart was pounding so hard it seemed to drown out the noise of the engine. I hurried as fast as I could, driven by both fear and hope. By dawn, after hundreds of miles, I was where I needed to be, with my children. We returned to Iowa early in the morning. I parked the car in front of my house. The sun was just rising, painting the sky a peach color. Lily and Max sat quietly in the back seat. The road was long, we were tired, we barely talked on the way. The children looked depressed. Lily stared out the window with a glassy gaze. Max just kept silent, hunched over. I went out, breathed in the familiar cool air of our yard, and opened the back door for them. "You're home," I said quietly. They got out of the car. Max wrapped himself in a sweatshirt. Lily squinted in the pale sun. They walked up the steps to the porch. There I stopped and turned to face them. "Wait," I said firmly. They froze, looking at me in surprise. I looked at my watch, 6:10 am. "We have 10 minutes," I said. "Let's talk before you cross the threshold." Lily blushed and looked down. Max shifted nervously from one foot to the other. "I have to tell you a few things," I continued, trying to keep my voice even though my chest ached with pity for them. "Life is not a game. Every decision you make has consequences. You made the decision to leave with your mother. The consequences were these. We lived apart for almost a year, and it was painful for everyone. Now you've decided to come back to me, and that too will have consequences." The children looked at each other. Lily bit her lip, tears welling up in her eyes again. "Dad, we know, we understand," she said quietly. "We're so sorry." I raised my palm, stopping the stream of apologies she seemed ready to pour out. "Wait, let me finish honestly and directly," I said harshly. "Then you can talk as much as you need." They nodded in unison. I ran my hand over my face, choosing my words, and spoke. "It hurt me so much when you left. I haven't described it to you, but know this. My life has changed beyond recognition. The house was empty. I had to get used to living alone, without you. I coped, but the scar remained. And now you're here again. I'm glad about it, more than anything in the world. But I can't just pretend that nothing happened." Max sobbed, but held back. "I am your father, and I always will be. I promised myself that if you decide to come back, I will do everything to make you happy. I will keep my promise. But you must understand, I am not a rich man, not a magician. I am a simple man. I have a simple house, a simple job. Here there will not be that luxurious life that you were promised in Texas. But here there will be truth and reliability." I paused for a second, letting them take it in. Lily looked me straight in the eye, hanging on every word. Max nodded, wiping his nose with his sleeve. "Also," I continued, "you will have to earn my trust again, and I will have to earn yours. We have been through a lot. Without frankness and respect for each other, nothing will work out. I will not lie to you, and I will not tolerate lies from you. If something is wrong, we will speak honestly like adults." Lily exhaled convulsively and said in a strangled voice, "Dad, we've really grown up, and we understand everything. Give us a chance. Please." "I'm giving you a chance," I said a little softer. "But keep in mind that I'm not going to run after you and save you from every step you take. I'll help, I'll support, but I won't live for you. If you want a better life, somewhere else again, leave, you're free. Just know that I may not let you back in." It sounded harsh, even rude, but they needed to hear it. Lily turned pale, but nodded. "We won't leave again. I'll never forgive myself for leaving then." Max quietly stepped closer and suddenly embraced me in a bear hug. I felt him trembling. "I don't want to go anywhere anymore, Dad," he muttered through his tears. "Forgive me." I hugged my son, feeling my eyes water. Then I held out my hand to Lily. She rushed to me, and the three of us stood there, hugging each other on the porch. We had lost each other, but now we had found each other again. For a second, I remembered how tiny they once were, how Lily hid in my arms during a thunderstorm, how Max fell asleep on my chest one day when he was about 3. Years passed, they grew up. But in that moment in my arms, I felt those little scared babies again, and I knew that from now on I would never give them to anyone. A minute later, I cleared my throat and pulled away. "Okay," I said softly, "welcome home." I opened the door, and we entered our home, now truly ours, shared, filled. That evening, we all sat down to dinner together at the kitchen table. I made spaghetti and meatballs, a simple dish they had loved as children. Lily and Max ate in silence, but with gusto. It was obvious how much they missed home cooking and the feeling of home. After dinner, I leaned back in my chair and looked at my children. They had noticeably relaxed over the past few hours. Lily even had something like a smile. Max was looking around, clearly enjoying the familiar little things, the magnets on the refrigerator, an old family photo in a frame. "We need to discuss our plans," I said calmly, "how we'll live from now on." Lily and Max froze warily, putting down their forks. "Everything will be fine," I added immediately. "Let's just discuss the terms so there are no misunderstandings." They looked at each other and nodded in unison. "First," I began, folding my hands on the table, "your stay here is temporary for now. I'm glad you're home, and you can live as long as it takes to get on your feet. But keep in mind, my goal is for you to become independent. When you finish school and hopefully get into college or find a job, we'll think about how you'll transition to adulthood. That is, this home is yours, but you shouldn't hold on to it as your only salvation. It's a support, but not forever." The children listened attentively. Lily bit her lip, but nodded. "Second, we will now have one rule in our family to have dinner together," I continued. "I work different shifts at work, but when we are all home in the evening, we sit down and eat together, without phones, and talk. We communicated too little before. Now we will make up for it." Max smiled slightly. "We can do that." Lily also tried to smile and quietly added, "Sounds good, Dad." Third, school. I'll go to our old school tomorrow and find out about enrolling you back. No more of these academies. A regular good school. We'll try to make sure you don't lose a year. We're not letting your studies slide, that's your job now. "Got it," they responded in unison. I felt a strange joy at being able to care about simple things like school again. "Fourth, therapy," I said and raised my palm, preventing possible protests. "For all of us. You have experienced severe stress, and so have I. I have already found a good family psychologist in the city. We will go together at least once a week, and individually if necessary. I apologize here, but this is a condition." Lily raised her eyebrows in surprise. Are you ready to go to a psychologist with us?" "Of course," I nodded. "What should I be ashamed of? I want us to work through all of this, so that I don't have to hold on to any grudges or feelings of guilt any longer." The daughter lowered her eyes. Max said quietly, "We agree." "Okay," I took a breath. "And fifth, last, money." They tensed again. "As I wrote to you, I reminded, I don't have any extra money. I will provide you with the necessities, housing, food, occasional clothing, school. But don't expect any expensive gadgets, cars as gifts, or anything else. If you want something more than what you need, you can think about a part-time job or save up. I don't support parasites, okay?" Lily smiled slightly at the old-fashioned word. Max nodded gravely. "And one more thing," I added more softly. "I won't save you or justify you to anyone as it used to be. If you screw up, you'll be responsible for it yourself. I'm here, I'll back you up, I'll give you advice. But we're growing out of the habit that Dad will sort everything out. It's time to learn to live independently, little by little." "Got it, Dad," Max responded. "It's even strange to hear that you're putting us in such an adult position before responsibility. And you are almost adults," I sighed. "It's time." There was a pause. I looked at both of them carefully. "Are these conditions acceptable?" Lily raised her hand, like in school, and asked timidly, "Can I tell you?" "Of course," I chuckled. "We're not in class, just keep it simple." She blushed and spoke quickly. "Thank you for not kicking us out, for doing so much for us. We We'll accept everything, really. I even like everything you suggest. It's right. Max nodded vigorously, supporting his sister. I like it too. Honestly, I felt the tension gradually subside. The relief even made my head spin a little. Well, great, I said quietly. Then we have a deal. Agreed, they repeated. I smiled, then stood up and began clearing the table. Lily and Max immediately rustled around, helping me tidy up the kitchen. We didn't go to bed for a while that night, too many emotions and things to do. But for the first time in a long time, my soul felt calm. A year has passed since the children returned home. During this time, our life has quietly, step by step, improved. Lily graduated from school not with honors, but with dignity and decided to work right away. She got a job as an assistant administrator at a local clinic. She says she likes it, the action, the people she feels needed. I see. It is good for my daughter to be busy. She seems to have blossomed, become more confident. Max graduated a little later. He's 2 grades younger and went to a community college in a neighboring town. Every morning he drives an old car that we fixed up together. He's studying to be a software engineer, but he still kicks a ball around with his friends on weekends. He's managed to get his easygoing side back, although sometimes the seriousness of growing up shows through. The three of us regularly visited a psychologist for almost 6 months. Then the doctor said that there was no particular need anymore. We communicate well ourselves. And indeed, over these months we talked a lot. There were tears, arguments, and hugs. I remember one session when Lily suddenly blurted out that she was angry with me for letting go of her and Mom without a fight. I was taken aback, and the psychologist gently asked me to answer. And for the first time, I honestly admitted, I didn't want you to see dirty fights. Maybe I was wrong. Forgive me if it seemed to you that I didn't fight for you. Lily burst into tears and rushed to me. I hugged her, barely holding back my own tears. Max was crying too. That day was a turning point. All three of us understood and forgave each other. Now I can say with confidence, we understand each other like never before. It's Saturday, and we're spending the morning at the fire station. I'm teaching another first aid course for anyone who wants to come. Only this time, I'm not the only instructor. Lily and Max are helping me as assistants. Make sure there's nothing in the victim's mouth. That's right, Lily tells the group as I demonstrate the Heimlich maneuver on a mannequin. My daughter hands out napkins and watches the students imitate the maneuver. Max is in the corner, explaining to 2 elderly women how to properly apply a tourniquet. He is responsible for the first aid section for bleeding. Looking at how seriously and carefully he communicates with them, I catch myself feeling proud. When the class is over, people thank us for a long time. One grandmother even brought home made pies as a thank you for the science. The whole team, me, Lily, Max, and my colleague Eric, sit down on the station porch and devour these cherry pies. The sun is blazing. The breeze is pleasantly cool. So, instructors, what do you think? I smile at the children. It was great, Max says, licking his fingers, especially when that girl was finally able to do the heart massage correctly. I felt right at home, Lily adds, a little embarrassed. I would never have thought of it a year ago. You're great, I say seriously. I'm proud of you. Lily smiles quietly, looking down, and Max beams openly. Eric clinks a plastic glass of compote with me. You have a great team, Nate. A real family dynasty of rescuers is growing. I wave it off, but smile. I am overwhelmed with happiness, although I try not to show excessive sentimentality. Lily wipes her hands with a napkin and suddenly says uncertainly, Dad, I was thinking, maybe I should go on to further education too. Medicine, for example. There are so many interesting things at the clinic, I've already learned a lot. She is embarrassed. Before, I was afraid to apply somewhere again, but now, I want to try. That's a great idea, I respond quickly. A nurse or a paramedic, whatever you become, the main thing is that you like it, and you'll definitely succeed. Lily's face brightens and she nods. With your support, I can definitely handle it. Max also picks up. And I think that after college, I will transfer to a university to finish my bachelor's degree. The professors say that I have good chances. I have no doubt, I smile. You're both smart. An hour later, we return home. While Lily is busy in the kitchen, preparing dinner, she has become our culinary expert. Max is helping me in the yard to repair the porch, which has finally been renovated. The work is going well. My son can do a lot of things himself. Dad, he says suddenly, tightening a screw, I sometimes think, if it weren't for that nightmare in Texas, we wouldn't have become so close, right? I straighten up, wiping the sweat from my forehead, and answer after a pause. Maybe. Through trials, we only became stronger. The main thing is that in the end, we are together. Max nods and suddenly hugs me, smelling of wood shavings. I'm so glad we're home. I pat him on the shoulder, hiding my overwhelming feelings behind a joke. And I'm glad. But let's finish everything, otherwise Lily will call us for lunch and we won't finish. He laughs and goes back to work. And I look at him at the house, from the windows of which my daughter's voice is heard with music, and I think life is really getting better. One October evening, while Lily and Max were busy with their own affairs, and I was fixing a small faucet in the kitchen, my phone rang. Looking at the screen, I was dumbfounded. The name Madison appeared, for the first time in a year and a half. I wiped my hands on a towel and cautiously accepted the challenge. Hello? Hi, Nate. Came a familiar, but now somehow faded voice. It's me. I'm listening, Madison, I answered calmly. She was silent for a couple of seconds, then exhaled. How? How are they? If you're talking about children, then they're doing well, I said evenly. They're studying, working, at home. I see. There was relief mixed with sadness in her voice. I'm happy for them. Really. Thank you, I answered briefly. Another pause. Then she spoke in a different tone, clearly trying to sound more cheerful. You know, I'm planning on moving back to Iowa. I'm working remotely for now, but I'm thinking about moving closer to my family. Anyway, I'd like to see Lily and Max. If they want to, of course. I leaned my shoulder against the wall, closing my eyes. Now this moment had arrived. It's up to them, I said. I don't mind. But no pressure, Maddie. If you ask them, let them decide for themselves whether to date or not. Of course, I understand, she said quickly. Nate, listen, I know there's no point in saying this, but... Then no need for words, I interrupted her softly, opening my eyes. We both made mistakes. I hold no grudge. You are the mother of my children, and I respect that. But, she asked quietly. But the boundaries, I said clearly. Our relationship is in the past. We can communicate peacefully, on business, for the sake of Lily and Max. Nothing more. I let it all go a long time ago, and I advise you to do the same. There was silence on the other end, only her breathing. I understand, she finally said dully. You did a good job of it, and thank you for not turning the children against me. I'm not that kind of person, I sighed. They saw it all and decided for themselves. But you're still their mother. I think it would be good for them to communicate with you if it's a healthy communication. I'll try my best, Madison whispered. Good, I concluded. Let me know when you get to Iowa. I'll tell the kids if they haven't changed their minds by then. Yeah, and Nate. She began, but stopped. Anyway, thank you, and sorry. Take care of yourself, was all I said in response. We said goodbye. I put the phone down on the table and felt relief. This conversation went without scandals, without old pain, exactly as it should be now. That evening the children asked who had called, and I answered honestly, Mom, and that she wanted to see me. Lily was silent for a long time, then just nodded. Max shrugged. It's up to you to decide how you look at it, I reminded them. If you want to see me, I don't mind. If not, that's also your right. I guess I want to see, Max said quietly, just to make sure she's okay. Lily nodded. Yes, and talk. Just talk. Then we'll agree to meet in due time, I concluded. Just remember that you now have your own boundaries. Don't let anyone violate them. Not even Mom. They nodded understandingly. I felt proud. My children had become much more aware of what could and could not be forgiven, where trust ended and self-respect began. A week before Thanksgiving, I found an envelope on my desk. It was neatly written, "For Dad." Recognizing Lily's handwriting, I was wary, but I opened it. Inside was a handwritten letter on 3 pages. I sat down and began to read. "Dad, we wanted to tell you for a long time, and it's better to say it in writing. We know how much pain you felt when we chose a beautiful life with Evan over you. We understood that we betrayed you, although not right away. Forgive us for this. You brought us back, but not just physically, you brought us back to ourselves. Without you, we would have been completely lost. Thank you for that. We never asked you for money, and yet you gave us more than money can buy. We want you to know that we need you as a father, not as a wallet. No gifts, no gadgets, no trips can replace a living father who loves, cares, and keeps his word. You are exactly that kind of father, and we are happy that we can call you Dad again. With love and respect, Lily and Max." As I read these lines, the letters blurred my eyes, stung from the overwhelming feelings. I took a deep breath and smiled involuntarily. Lily and Max were standing in the doorway of the office, shifting from foot to foot. Apparently, they were waiting for my reaction. I stood up and walked up to them. The children looked at me and then at each other, a little worriedly but resolutely. I handed Lily the envelope and said softly, "Take it back." They were both taken aback. Lily took the letter from my hands, confused. "Dad, what's wrong?" Max muttered. I chuckled and shook my head. "That's right. I just don't want this to be a one-time gesture. Copy it clean and save it for yourself, so that you'll always remember what you wrote to me and why. And I'll never forget your words even without paper." Lily took a surprised breath, then smiled more radiantly than I had seen in a long time. "Okay, we have a deal," she whispered. Max also smiled. "We're serious, Dad, every word. I believe you," I nodded, "and I'll answer honestly too." I paused, looking them straight in the eye, and said the phrase they had heard me say before, but which now meant even more than before. "The door doesn't rotate." Lily nodded, and Max said quietly, "And it's not needed. We're not going anywhere else." We hugged. I held them tightly to me and felt that I could breathe deeply. All the worst was behind us, and ahead was only life. Our calm, honest life together. In front of me is our house, cozy and well kept. I am sitting on the renovated porch, which no longer creaks. Max and I once rearranged everything, board by board. It is a quiet evening all around. A grasshopper chirps somewhere, a neighbor's dog barks in the distance. Peace. Lily's laughter can be heard from inside the house. She's chatting on the phone with a friend. Max is still training. He'll be here soon. He said he'd stop by for groceries on the way. He volunteered himself. He's become independent. I lean back in the old rocking chair that I fixed the other day. In my hands is a book on carpentry, a new hobby. I'm thinking of setting up a workshop in the garage, making shelves, stools. It's nice to work with wood. I run my palm along the armrest, and under my fingers a thin scar of varnish roughens, a trace of that very crack that I filled with glue and pulled together with clamps. When you look at a neatly tightened seam, you feel a strange calm. Things can be fixed. Sometimes people too, if you don't tear at the raw edge, but patiently hold it until it sets. A spring jingles at the gate. It's Mrs. Green, our neighbor to the left, leading her basset hound, Luna, on a leash. Mrs. Green stops, waves at me, and holds out a paper bag. "Zucchini from the garden, Nate," she says happily, "and sometime maybe add it to the soup." "Thank you, Mrs. Green." I jump off the porch and grab the bag. "We were just planning a vegetable stew for the weekend. Tell Luna she's looking especially elegant today." The basset hound doesn't even need asking. She turns around importantly and lies on her side, exposing her belly for scratching. I scratch her, and Luna purrs contentedly. Mrs. Green smiles and tells me that her grandson has entered college in Nebraska. I listen, nod, wish him luck, and think to myself that, in fact, everything is going as usual for us. The children are growing up, the house is breathing, and I am not a guard in it, but the owner. After the neighbor leaves, I go to the garage. It smells of wood and iron. There are shavings on the workbench, and next to it is a used jointer I had dreamed of, bought from an ad. Max and I took out the extra junk from here in the spring. Old tires, boxes of someday useful stuff, and especially the boxes that I kept as a memory of my former life. Memory is in the head, not in piles of cracked plastic. On the wall hangs a sheet of plywood with a row of hooks driven into it. I carefully hung chisels, a plane, a square, and tape measures on them. The bottom shelf is occupied by boards, pine, maple, a couple of oak blocks given to me by Eric. I pull a long pine blank out of the stack and put it on the sawhorses. Today I have a plan, to start a bookcase for the living room, which Lily has been asking for a long time. "There's no need to keep my books on the windowsill," my daughter said in the voice of the head of the clinic, and narrowed her eyes jokingly. I smiled then. It means she really wants to stay since she wants the books to stand, like people do, and not temporarily. I stand at the workbench, grind, measure, adjust the end face. Monotonous movements straighten the head better than any meditation. Everything is simple here. Precision is achieved by attention, and a good result is achieved by patience. A familiar car slows down near the gate. Eric's old Ford. He honks for a second, sticks out his nose, as always, and waves, like, "Let's go to the lake tomorrow." I nod. "Let's go," and go to him for a few words. "Don't forget your fishing rods," he says, "and a thermos. I'll take my famous chili, but without the kernel, so you don't have to run away from the call later because of heartburn. Just save the chili for those who beat us to the spot and take the best berth." I smile. "We'll fight it off." Eric laughs, punches the air, and goes on about his business. It's good that I have such a friend. We are different, but we don't drag each other down. It's also a difficult science to choose people to be around. Max returns late in the evening. It smells of cold and gasoline. In his hands are bags. Milk, beans, a pack of pasta, bread. "A test purchase," he says proudly. "And yes, Dad, I signed up for an internship at the local auto repair shop. 3 evenings a week. They say if you like it, you can stay on and earn extra money." "Study first," I respond automatically. Then I loosen the severity in my voice. "But if you can handle it, why not? Just put the schedule on the fridge right away. And dinners. Remember." Max throws up his hands. I remember. No phones." We put away the groceries. I show him the sketches of the rack. He chuckles. "Leave some space below for the toolboxes, otherwise they will end up lying around again. I'll write it down in the technical specifications." I nod, and we exchange glances. He's now responsible for safety precautions. The next morning, before fishing, I have a shift. The night was calm, but the morning was not. They called me to a farm outside the city. A man, about 70, sudden weakness, slurred speech. I hear key words in the dispatcher's voice, and already on the way I mentally run through the list. Time of onset of symptoms, level of consciousness, sugar, pressure. At the entrance to the house, we are met by a girl of about 16 in pajama shorts, barefoot. Her eyes are red. "Grandma." She falters, "Is everything okay with Grandpa? He was in the barn and fell." We run. And here is a picture that makes my insides turn over. Near an old red barn, a young guy is busily doing chest compressions correctly, deeply, with a good frequency. I recognize him. It's Ethan. He came to my classes a month ago. "Good depth," I say, sitting down and taking position. "I'll change on 3. 1, 2, 3. We work in turns. Eric puts on oxygen. I check the pulse, the condition of the pupils. Not a heart attack, looks like a stroke, but there is no arrest. The guy is just lost, pressure drop, dehydration, all factors came into play. In the car, the grandfather is already coming to his senses, confused but reacting. I tell him as simply as possible what happened and what we are doing. As Eric fills out the card, I turn to Ethan. Well done. Where did you learn? He smiles shyly and adjusts his baseball cap. You, you were talking about keeping the tempo like in Stain alive, I remembered. I remembered that means someone survived, I answer. You're doing well today. Go wash your hands and hug your sister. The sister clutches his shoulder. At this moment, I again clearly feel my courses are not for show. Someone will live only because the teenager did not lose his head and pressed where it was necessary and in the right way. This is such a simple and great thought that I have to take a breath, so that the pride hidden somewhere deep does not flare up. We hand over Grandpa at the reception. On the way back, Eric raises his eyebrows. Have you seen this guy's face? He'll grow up later and tell his friends that he once saved his grandfather with his hands. And I'll tell you that once they listen to me, I grin, and that's enough. The next day's fishing is mostly fishless, but conversations are had. The wind from the lake is cool, the boat is rocking, and the world narrows to soft water and the slack tension of the line. Eric mutters about a new rescue ladder for the station that they still haven't bought, then gets personal. I propose to Katie, he suddenly exhales without looking. Well, I almost knock over the thermos. So what? I agreed. We'll get married in the spring. Just please, without these toasts of yours, to health and mutual respect, he grimaces. Just come. I'll come, and I'll still say a toast, accept it, I answer. And we'll knock down the stairs. A good one, not chilly. We laugh. Then we are silent for a while, and that is also good. I look at the surface of the water, and a simple thought comes to mind. To live is to know where your shore is. On Saturdays, there's a course. This time, the group is a mixed bunch. 3 high school students, a gym teacher, a young barista from the coffee shop on the corner, 2 elderly ladies with their 3rd grader grandson. Lily stands at the table where the bandages are and explains in a stern voice. We fold the elastic bandage so that the bleeding is under control and the limb doesn't turn blue. And he glances at me, like, don't blab, Dad. Max leads the station with the dummies. He patiently adjusts the elbows. Harder, don't be afraid. The rib cage may crack, that's normal. We're saving lives. The elderly ladies perk up. One of them gets to the right depth on her 3rd try, and Max is genuinely happy for her, like a child is happy for someone else's victory. I catch this moment and add a few words. Look how cool it is you learned in 20 minutes, something that can solve everything. During the break, a woman in a nurse's uniform, but not from our network, comes up to me. She says she came from a neighboring district. They are short of workers, and they organize such classes in the evenings. I give her a printout with algorithms, links to videos, and our number if anything. There is an announcement on the door about free courses for all high school students in the city, and Eric and I close these groups as best we can. Now I understand that my path is not only sirens and tires, but also to explain so that they remember. At home, we have our own life. We dine together, and this rule has stuck. Sometimes it's just pasta, sometimes soup, sometimes that same Mrs. Green's zucchini stew. We've removed the phones from the dining room. We agreed that if someone accidentally takes one out, they'll wash the dishes alone. This accident happened twice in a month and quickly stopped. One evening, Max is late. He has a breakdown. A friend broke his car on the highway. Max writes, I'll help. I'll be there at 10. He returns at 10:45, shifting guiltily. I don't rush with lectures. I just point to the written, our family document on the refrigerator, where in black and white it says, you warn and still come on time. We sit on the porch. I ask what he risked and for what. Max frowns, then admits. He could have called a tow truck instead of being a hero. We agree. Next time a photo of the place and a call to me, I will find a tow truck driver I know. He nods. The conflict is exhausted, and this is not chewing over. It is digesting. The boundaries are held, and this makes it easier for everyone. Meanwhile, Lily brings home her first serious money, a bonus for helping to organize vaccinations at their clinic. She buys new sneakers and suddenly brings another package, a lamp for my desk. So as not to ruin your eyes, he says and turns away, pretending that it's insignificant. I set up a lamp over the workbench, and the light is warmer than the old, cold lead. Lily stays in the garage, sits on an upturned bucket, and watches me plane the pine. I let her try, and she, at first hesitantly, then enthusiastically, removes thin, transparent ribbons of shavings. They curl into curls and smell of fresh resin. Not bad, I say. You'll make a master too. Well, well, she snorts. My hands are geared towards medicine. That's obvious, I answer. But you can finish off the shelf for your textbooks yourself. She smiles the way she used to smile as a child when she was able to draw a cat with the right ears. In autumn, the first snow falls. In the evening, the boy from next door comes out into the street, makes the first lump, throws it into the air, and squeals happily. Lily goes to the window and just looks for a while. Then she opens the casement and stretches out her palm. Cold, wet flakes fall on it. She listens to them rustling quietly on the windowsill and suddenly says, "In Austin, snow has no smell. Here, it does." "There's a lot here," I answer, but I don't elaborate. We already understand. Before Thanksgiving, the traditional list-making swirl begins. Max and I go to the supermarket. We buy turkey, broth, celery, onions, cranberries. Max takes on the male part of the kitchen. He takes on the brine. Fermentation in a sweet brine sounds like high tech to him. He's young, of course, but he understands instructions better than I do. Lily bakes a pie, not an apple pie this time, but a pumpkin pie with spices. A list appears on the table, who's doing what at what time. I write myself under mashed potatoes and serve cider, Lily gravy, Max turkey. We laugh. 3 names opposite 3 items is more than just a list. It's visibility and everyone's participation. Wednesday night is a light bustle. Lily is elbow-deep in flour, deftly rolling out dough. Max is carefully dipping the turkey into the brine, grumbling that the pan is too small. I am chopping onions and declaring that the tears are not from the onions. The house smells of cinnamon, garlic, orange peel, and the house becomes home not because of the walls, but because of the smells and voices. Madison texts the kids, "Happy holidays." Hugs. Lily replies, "Thanks. Daddy and I are cooking." Max adds a photo of a turkey, a winking emoji. I look at it as normal. This is how it should be. It fits our boundaries. There is a connection, no arguments. On Thanksgiving itself, we set the table without frills. Turkey, potatoes, green beans with almonds, cranberry sauce, pie, cider. I put an old tablecloth on the table that my aunt once gave me. There's a candle in a glass on the window. Outside, there's a slow snowfall, like in a postcard. "Well," I say and stand up. "As per tradition, what are we thanking for?" Lily touches the edge of the plate with her finger, thinks and says without looking at us, "For a second chance." Max looks at me and adds, "And for our family." I swallow the lump in my throat and say, "I'm grateful for you." We clink glasses of cider. We drink. We start eating and chatting not about level of achievement and prospects, but about who looks like whom, why I bought 2 identical shampoos last week, and how Max managed to forget his boots at training. Laughter in the house is what I missed most, and now it's like the ticking of a clock. It's implied that it will be. After eating, we go outside. The snow is thick and sticky. The 3 of us make a clumsy snowman. Max comes up with a name for him, Arthur. Lily fixes his carrot nose and declares that Arthur is our guard. I put an old bucket on his head. We watch and laugh. And I understand that this little ritual is much more important than any trips to active camps. In the evening, I take an old blanket and a book out onto the porch and step outside for 5 minutes to get some fresh air. The wooden steps creak softly, not from age, but from the frosty density of the wood. I take a sip of hot cider and exhale the steam. Eric's hoarse laughter comes from the street. He and Katie have returned from her parents. They wave to us, and we wave back. It's good to live where people know each other by name. Inside the house, Lily looks into the living room. Dad, let's take a photo as a keepsake. Okay, I answer, and the three of us stand by the fireplace. Max sets the timer, runs up quickly, and in the last 2 seconds we manage to hug. Click. Don't wash it, says Lily. Let's print it out and hang it on the fridge. We'll do that, I promise. I kept it the next day. I printed it out for the pharmacy and hung it with a magnet next to the shift schedule. Winter rolls on, and in January I finally finish the bookcase. The three of us move it into the living room. Lily wipes the shelves with a damp cloth, arranges the books in neat rows. Anatomy for Beginners, Fundamentals of Nursing, The Diary of Florence Nightingale. She laughs that this is marketing hyperbole, but leaves them. Max puts out his programming textbooks, but carefully moves them to the lower shelves, so that dust settles there and not on top. I put a few of mine, the paramedic's handbook, the handbook of carpentry joints, an old photo album where we glue the latest pictures. The shelves fill up, and a thought occurs to me. The house has filled up too, not with things with meanings. That same day, I do another little thing. I hang a small sign in the hallway that says, "Home is a place to return to." Lily chuckles. Kitsch. It's the pure truth, I answer. And a little kitsch, she doesn't give up. Let it be. A little kitsch in life won't hurt if it's appropriate and honest. Sometimes, in the quiet morning hours, when I drink coffee alone in the kitchen and watch the thin steam rise from the mug, I am overcome by the thought of how much could have gone differently. I could have lost my temper then, at the very beginning, and closed myself off, pretending that I didn't need anyone. I could have become embittered, argued, sued, poisoning my life and the lives of my children. But we chose a different path. It is not heroic. It is simply consistent. Tell the truth, maintain boundaries, help when asked, and not save when not needed. Life is made up of these things, like a rack on tenons and grooves. If you hit the mark, it holds tight. And yes, I am still a paramedic. The phone rings at 2 in the morning, and you rush to someone's grief. At 4 in the morning, you sip bitter coffee in the waiting room parking lot. At 7, you return home and carefully open the door so as not to wake Lily, who has an early shift. These rhythms are part of me. But now these rhythms have room for pauses. I have stopped being mad that I don't have time to live. I live right in these stretches between calls and dinners, between sanding a board and a thank you from an old woman to whom you applied a bandage and explained how to change it later. One day, a letter arrived at our unit. Inside was a thank you note from the family of that same grandfather from the farm. It was written by his granddaughter, the one who was barefoot. If it weren't for your course, I would have been screaming in confusion. Ethan told me to count 1, 2, 3, and we counted until you arrived. Thank you for what you do. I hung the letter on the bulletin board, and in the evening I brought a copy home. Lily read it and silently hugged me. Max glanced sideways, but smiled. He rarely gives in to emotion, but I have learned to read these half-smiles. In the spring, a new habit. On Sundays, we cook something new from the book. I open a random page, kefir pancakes, and we laugh because the dough ran over and I forgot to grease the pan. Another time, Lily assembles roasted broccoli and lemon salad and ceremoniously brings it out as if it were a cake. Max masters homemade bread and at some point finds the perfect formula, and for the first time in a long time, the house smells like fresh crust. I am sitting on the porch again and thinking that happiness is not just big words. It is the smell of bread, the snow crunches under my boots. My son wrote, "I'll be there at 10, and came at 9:58. My daughter laughed into the phone, telling a joke from the clinic. These are all the little bolts that hold our structure together. Sometimes I hear the old phrase in my head, the one I once chose to protect us with. The door does not revolve. I have it not on a sign or in a frame inside, like a support. It is not about prohibiting mistakes. It is about the fact that we do not run back and forth, do not enter and exit our lives like to a store for change. We remain. If we leave, then forever. and if we return, then to be. And this is order. I have found my place in life. It has been there all this time, a house on a quiet street, where two almost grown up, but still dear to me children are waiting for me, and I don't need more. We have survived the storms, sailed out onto smooth water. There are no thunderstorms here, a light rain, which can be easily waited out on the porch under an old but strong canopy. On Thanksgiving, the three of us gathered around our table. No guests, just us. This time, Max cooked the turkey and Lily cooked the pie. The first snowflakes were falling outside. I looked at my grown-up but dear children and asked them what they were grateful for this year. Lily thought for a moment and said, "For a second chance." Max added, "And for our family." My throat tightened. I said quietly, "I'm grateful for you." We clinked our glasses of cider, and I knew that after all the storms and losses, we had found what really mattered, each other. Later, when the house was quiet and the kitchen clock had struck 11, I went out onto the porch one more time, just to stand. The snow was still falling, calmly, heavily. The living room window reflected three silhouettes on our new shelf. A framed photo of us laughing at the camera, thwarting the timer. Next to it, a fishing ticket that Eric had given me for some reason as a keepsake, and a childhood postcard, to Dad, with no date. I don't know what will happen next. No one does. But I know that if someone calls tomorrow morning and says, "Dad, this is happening," I'll say, "I'm here," and that's all I need to be able to do. I turn off the light in the hallway, zip up my jacket, it's below zero outside, and stand there for a couple more minutes, listening to the snow fall on our new porch boards. They don't creak, they hold up. We made them ourselves and we'll stand on them. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think click to the next one.